Welcome back to the Bible Odyssey. Before we begin, let's gently set your heart in a peaceful direction tonight. There's something so beautiful about choosing a positive heart. It calms your spirit, invites deeper rest, and opens the door for God's peace to fill your mind and body. A gentle, hopeful attitude can ease worry, strengthen your faith, and help you wake up feeling refreshed and ready to receive the good things God has prepared. So I invite you to speak these words with me 3 times, slowly and softly. I believe I'm going to rest well tonight. I believe I'm going to rest well tonight. I believe I'm going to rest well tonight. That's beautiful. Well done. Feel those words settling gently over your heart. And tomorrow morning, the moment you open your eyes, I want you to whisper these words 3 times before you rise. I believe I will be a blessing to others today. I believe I will be a blessing to others today. I believe I will be a blessing to others today. When you carry this positive, open-hearted attitude, you'll find more joy in small moments, more strength when challenges come, and more love flowing through you to those around you. All right, let's continue. Tonight's story takes us to a tender moment in Bethany. A woman who held nothing back. She took what was most precious to her, her greatest treasure, and poured it over Jesus in one beautiful, extravagant act of love. Though others criticized her, Jesus called her gift beautiful and said her story would be remembered forever. Let this story of pure, unguarded devotion gently guide you into peaceful sleep. Beloved, you have already done the same. You have given everything, not a portion, but all of it. You brought your most valuable treasure, you broke it open, and you poured it out. The fragrance of your gift filled the room before anyone could even question whether it was too much. You gave it from the deepest part of your heart. The jar is broken. There is no taking it back. And now the room has grown quiet. That heavy, waiting kind of silence. The kind that feels like others are calculating, measuring, preparing to say your gift was too extravagant, too much. But listen closely. The woman gave herself completely, without reservation, without protecting a single drop. The jar is broken. The perfume is in the air. There is nothing left to hide or hold back. Now there is only the waiting, and the voice that is about to speak into that waiting. He is about to speak. And when he does, everything will change. How your gift is received, and how you will forever understand the beauty of what you gave. Mark chapter 14, verses 3 through 9. While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume, made of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given to the poor." And they rebuked her harshly. "Leave her alone," said Jesus. "Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them any time you want. But you will not always have me. She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. Truly I tell you, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." While Jesus was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume, which she poured on his head as he was reclining at the table. Bethany, 2 miles from Jerusalem on the eastern slope of the Mount of Olives, close enough to the city that you can see the walls from the ridge, far enough that the city's noise and pressure are absent. Jesus returned to Bethany often. Lazarus and Mary and Martha were there. Simon's house was there. It was one of the places where the table was a real table, the dinner a real dinner, the welcome genuine rather than managed. Simon the leper. The name carries its history. He was identified by the disease that had marked him as unclean, excluded from the temple courts, excluded from the normal social life of the community, required to announce his condition to anyone who came near. Whether Simon was healed by the time of this dinner or was still carrying the disease, the name tells you the kind of house this was. The house of the person who had been excluded. The house where someone the community had marked as unclean had opened his table and set a place for Jesus, which makes it exactly the right house for what is about to happen. Because what is about to happen involves another person the room will attempt to exclude. The disciples were there. Other guests were there. And then the woman came in. We do not know her name in Matthew's account. She is identified by what she did rather than who she was, the woman who did this. She carried an alabaster jar. Alabaster is a soft stone, white, translucent, carved into a sealed vessel, ideal for preserving expensive perfume. The seal is the vessel itself. There is no stopper that can be removed and replaced, no lid that can be lifted and set aside. The alabaster surrounds the contents completely, keeping the fragrance concentrated and pure. To reach the perfume inside, you break the jar. The breaking is the opening. Once broken, the jar cannot be resealed. The contents pour out completely, and nothing can be held back. She carried the jar across the room to where Jesus was reclining. She broke it. She poured the perfume on his head. The fragrance was immediate and overwhelming, the specific, physical, room-filling fragrance of something very expensive being given completely. A year's wages, the disciples would say, the most valuable thing she owned, or among the most valuable. The scent of it reaching every corner of Simon's house before anyone had formed a response. She did not ask permission. She did not pause to check whether the gesture was proportional. She did not wait for the room's assessment before pouring. She broke the jar and poured, and the fragrance was in the air, and the room went very quiet. Luke tells a similar story earlier in his Gospel, and the details he adds make the picture of the woman fuller and the defense of her more specific. In Luke's account, a woman who had lived a sinful life in that town learned that Jesus was eating at a Pharisee's house, and she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. She stood behind him at his feet weeping, and she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. The host, a Pharisee named Simon, saw this and thought to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. A sinner. This is the specific word the room assigns to her. Not merely someone who has made mistakes, the official category. The woman who has lived in ways that the community has assessed and categorized and named. The woman whose history is known and whose history has become her identity in the accounting of the people who keep the accounting. And she came to the room anyway. She came knowing that the room knew her history. She came knowing that the Pharisees' table was not the table where she was expected to appear. She came with the alabaster jar, and the tears and the hair and the perfume, and she gave everything available to her in the giving, the tears from the weeping, the hair from the unloosening, the kisses, the perfume. She gave what she had, everything she had, without asking whether the room would receive it. And then Jesus told a parable about two debtors, one who owed 500 denarii and one who owed 50, and both were forgiven, and asked the Pharisee which debtor would love the creditor more. Simon answered, "I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven." Then Jesus turned to the woman, turned, physically, in the direction of the woman, while still speaking to Simon. "Do you see this woman?" The question to the Pharisee who had been watching the woman from across the room and categorizing her. Do you see this woman? The seeing that the question requires is not the seeing of the observer who has assessed and categorized. It is the seeing that receives the person in front of them as a person, with a history that includes more than the category, with a love that is visible in the pouring out, with a debt that has been forgiven, and with the specific, overwhelming gratitude of the person who knows their debt has been forgiven. I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little. Then Jesus said to her, "Your sins are forgiven." The other guests began to say among themselves, "Who is this who even forgives sins?" Jesus said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Go in peace." The sending that is also a commissioning, not go and try harder, go and do better, go and be more careful about the community's assessment of you. Go in peace. The peace that comes from the debt being cancelled, from the many sins being forgiven, from the love that was given in the room being received and named and declared sufficient. Your faith has saved you. Not your improved behavior has saved you. Not your theological correctness has saved you. Your faith, expressed in the coming to the room when the room did not want her there, in the bringing of the alabaster jar to the feet of the one who could do something about what she was carrying, in the weeping and the pouring and the complete giving of what she had. That faith has saved you. Go in peace. Tonight, in this room, in this dark, those words are being spoken to you. When the disciples saw this, they were indignant. "Why this waste?" they asked. "This perfume could have been sold at a high price and the money given to the poor." The criticism is not irrational. This is important to say before anything else is said about the criticism. The disciples were not wrong about the facts. A year's wages is a significant sum, more than enough to provide meaningful relief to people in genuine material need. The poor in Bethany and Jerusalem and across Judea were genuinely poor, not philosophically poor. The calculation the disciples performed was arithmetically sound. Sell the perfume, distribute the proceeds, feed families, provide medicine, address real suffering. What the disciples missed was not the arithmetic. They missed what was happening in the room. They applied the accounting of the ordinary to an act that was not ordinary. They measured the giving by the standard of practical return in a moment that was not asking to be measured by practical return. They looked at the perfume and calculated its convertible value without looking at the act, the breaking of the jar, the completeness of the pouring, the love that was expressing itself in the only form available to it in that room on that evening. The love that breaks the jar is not an efficient act. It was never designed to be efficient. It was designed to be complete. And the criticism of the broken jar is always, in every form it takes, the criticism that the giving was not deployed in the most efficient possible way, that the resource could have been managed better, that the return on the investment was insufficient, that something should have been kept back. You have received this criticism, perhaps from the real room of people in your life who assessed the giving and found it disproportionate. The friend who said the relationship you were investing in was not worth the investment. The parent who said the vocation you chose for love was not a sensible deployment of your gifts. The community that calculated the giving and concluded the return was insufficient. The partner who said the love was too intense, too present, too much. Or perhaps from inside, the voice that has absorbed the room's accounting and delivers it internally, regularly, without the room being required to be present. The voice that reviews the broken jars and says, "You should have kept something back." The voice that asks, "Was it worth it?" The voice that calculates the cost of the complete giving and finds the cost too high. Why this waste? The question the disciples asked is the question the interior critic asks about every broken jar. And then Jesus spoke. Aware of this, Jesus said to them, "Why are you bothering this woman?" Before the explanation of what the anointing meant, before the theological context of the burial preparation, before the declaration about where the gospel would be preached, before any of the content that would come, before any of it, Jesus turned to the room and said, "Why are you bothering this woman?" The defense was first. The priority of the defense reveals something essential about what Jesus understood to be happening. The thing that needed to be addressed before anything else was not the theological meaning of the act, not the significance of the anointing, not the practical counter-argument to the disciples' critique. It was the bothering, the troubling of this specific woman by the room's assessment of her giving. That was the first thing. Why are you bothering this woman? Leave her alone. What you are doing right now, the calculating, the indignation, the why this waste, is bothering her. It is troubling something that does not need to be troubled. It is subjecting a complete giving to an accounting that the giving was not asking to be subjected to. Stop. And then, she has done a beautiful thing to me. Beautiful. Not generous, not meaningful, not well-intentioned, not understandable given the circumstances. Beautiful. The word that does not qualify, does not hedge, does not concede any part of the room's assessment. The room said waste. Jesus said beautiful. These are not two perspectives on the same act. They are two different accounts of what was happening in the room, and only one of them is the account that matters. The disciples looked at the economic value of what had been poured out and calculated the loss. Jesus looked at the act itself, the breaking of the irreplaceable container, the complete pouring that held nothing back, the love that gave what the love had to give, and called it beautiful. The beauty was not in spite of the excess. The beauty was the excess. The giving that goes beyond what the room would have called proportional, that breaks the jar rather than measuring out a portion, is the giving that Jesus named beautiful. The measured giving is sensible. The proportional giving is responsible. The giving that keeps something back is practical. But the giving that breaks the alabaster and pours everything and fills the room with the fragrance of the complete, that giving Jesus called beautiful. And the beauty is in the completeness, in the irreversibility, in the impossibility of taking it back. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them any time you want. But you will not always have me. She did what she could. Not she did what was required. Not she did what was sufficient by some external standard. She did what she could, the complete giving of what was available to give, the everything of what the love had to offer. This is the description of the faithful giving. Not the giving that meets the standard from the outside, the giving that empties the giver of what the giver has. She did what she could. And then the declaration that changes the accounting entirely. Truly, I tell you, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. Wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world. The room said, this perfume could have been sold and given to the poor. The room measured the giving against the practical benefit it could have produced. Jesus measured it against eternity. The woman who came to a dinner in Bethany and broke an alabaster jar and poured a year's wages onto the head of Jesus. That woman, that act, that specific breaking and pouring would be told wherever the story of Jesus was told, in every language, in every century, to every person who received the gospel. The room called it waste. Jesus declared it immortal. The love that was called excessive, Jesus declared eternal. The jar was broken, not opened, broken. This distinction carries the theology of the whole story. An alabaster jar of this kind has no lid, no stopper, no reversible seal. The alabaster is the container, carved around the contents to preserve the fragrance by surrounding it completely. To access what is inside, you break the vessel, and the breaking is irreversible. There is no partial giving with an alabaster jar. There is no measuring out a careful portion and resealing the remainder for a more appropriate occasion. The moment the breaking begins, everything inside is given. The completeness of the giving is not a choice made at the point of the pouring. It is the nature of the breaking. She broke it. All of it poured. Nothing remained. And the giving was done in a way that could not be undone. You have broken jars, perhaps many. The giving that was complete and irreversible, the commitment that left nothing in reserve, the love that poured everything out, the decision made without the ability to unmake it, the years given to a person or a work or a calling that then ended, leaving the years given and not returnable, the marriage that was entered fully and was not entered into fully by the other person, the friendship that received everything you had and then received more than remained, the vocation that was chosen for the love of it, at the cost of other options that did not wait, and that has not always produced the return that the completeness of the choosing seemed to warrant. The jars are broken, the giving is done, and the voice that has been living in the interior, or the voice in the room that has spoken the accounting out loud, has said, "The breaking was a mistake. Something should have been kept in reserve. The giving was disproportionate. The love was too much. A more measured approach would have been wiser, less costly, less exposed to the loss that comes with giving something that cannot be ungiven." Jesus received the breaking. He did not suggest she should have kept something back. He did not offer the consolation that, despite the excess, some meaningful good had been accomplished. He received the broken jar and the complete pouring and the year's wages and the irreversibility of all of it, and he named it beautiful. And then he declared it eternal, not despite the breaking, because of it. The beauty was in the breaking, in the everything, in the impossibility of taking it back. The jar that cannot be resealed is the jar that Jesus called beautiful. The giving that cannot be undone is the giving that Jesus declared will be told wherever the gospel is told. Whatever jar you have broken, whatever complete, irreversible, holding nothing back offering your life has made, Jesus received it. He named it beautiful. He declared it eternal, tonight, in this room, for you. In Luke's account, Jesus spoke directly to the woman after defending her. He said, "Your sins are forgiven. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Your faith has saved you. Not, your improved behavior has saved you. Not, your theological correctness. Not, your moral record or your standing in the community or any of the things the Pharisees' table would have used to assess who deserved to be there. Your faith, expressed in the coming to the room when the room did not want her, in the bringing of the alabaster jar to the one who could do something about what she was carrying, in the weeping and the complete giving and the doing what she could. That faith has saved you. The faith that saved her did not look like faith from the outside. From the outside, it looked like excess, like a woman who had no business being at the Pharisees' table making a scene with expensive perfume, like a sinner performing a gesture that was theologically questionable and practically wasteful. From the outside, it was exactly what the room assessed it as. From the inside, from where Jesus was looking, it was faith. The specific, broken jar, hold nothing back, come to the room anyway faith of the person whose love was bigger than the fear of the room's assessment. The faith that did not calculate the return before breaking the jar. The faith that did what it could with what it had in the only way available to it. That faith has saved you. Go in peace. The go in peace is not a dismissal, it is ascending. Go from this room into the life that comes after this moment, into the ordinary days and the difficult seasons and the moments when the room's assessment will return in the quieter voice of the interior critic. Go into all of it, in peace, not go and try harder, not go and be more measured next time, not go and give less so the room has less to criticize. Go in peace, the peace that comes from the debt being cancelled, from the love that was called excessive being called beautiful by the only voice that carries the final weight, from the faith that expressed itself in the breaking being declared sufficient and saving. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Tonight, in this room, in this dark, those specific words are being spoken to you. Whatever broken jar is in your history, whatever complete giving the room has assessed as wasteful, whatever love has been called too much by the people who measured it, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. The story is alive in your life right now. The first is the person whose devotion has been called excessive. She prays for 2 hours in the morning before the house wakes up. Not every morning, most mornings. It has been her practice for 11 years, since the season when the prayer became the thing that held the rest of the life together. She does not talk about it. It is not a performance. It is simply the giving of the morning to the one who has become the center of the morning. The people who love her have concerns about the 2 hours. The husband who is supportive and who has never told her to stop, and who has, quietly, over 11 years, communicated in the small ways that people communicate small concerns, that the 2 hours takes something from the morning that the morning could use. The friends who admire the faith and who have said more than once, gently, that balance is important, that the devotional life should sustain the outer life, not consume it. The community that celebrates commitment and that has its own implicit accounting of what appropriate devotion looks like. The room has been performing its assessment for 11 years, and the interior voice has heard the assessment and has been running its own version of it, the why this waste version. The 2 hours that could have been 1 hour and a walk, the prayer that could have been a journal and freed the rest for something more productive, the alabaster jar that perhaps did not need to be broken quite so completely. Tonight, the story arrives, and Jesus turns to the room. Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing. The 2 hours of the morning, the broken jar of the daily giving of the morning's most valuable hours, is beautiful. Not despite the excess, because of it. Because it is the complete giving of what the love has to give in the form available to it. Because it is the alabaster broken and the perfume poured and the room filled with the fragrance of the everything given. Wherever this gospel is preached, what she has done will also be told. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. The second is the person who gave everything to a calling that did not produce the expected return. He was 43 when he left the career that paid well to do the work he believed he was made for. The non-profit, the work with the population that no one was adequately serving, the giving of the professional gifts to the mission rather than to the income. His wife supported the decision. The savings allowed the transition. The work was real and good and needed, and the return was not what the calculation had suggested it might be. Not because the work was not good, because the funding was inconsistent and the systems were resistant and the problems were larger than any single organization could address, and the metrics by which the wider world measures success did not readily apply to what he was doing. He is 51 now. The career peers who stayed in the income-producing work are in different positions from his. The financial difference is real. The question of whether the decision was worth it has been live in the interior for years. The room has performed its assessment. The family members who loved him and who expressed their love in the form of the gentle long-term concern. The friends who said he was talented enough to have done anything. The interior voice that runs the comparison and asks whether the alabaster should have been broken quite so completely. Tonight the story arrives, and Jesus turns to the room. Why are you bothering this man? He has done a beautiful thing. The leaving of the income-producing work to do the needed work, the breaking of the alabaster jar of the professional gifts and pouring them into the mission is beautiful, not despite the insufficient return, because it was the complete giving of what was available to give, because it was the doing what he could with what he had. She did what she could. He did what he could. And the doing what you can with what you have, Jesus declared eternal. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. The third is the person who loved someone through the hard season and whose love was called too much. The hard season was her husband's depression, 3 years of it, the severe kind, the kind that required everything the household could provide. She gave everything, the adjusting of the life, the carrying of what the depression transferred, the staying when the staying was not comfortable, and the staying when the staying was not appreciated, because the depression makes appreciation difficult, and the staying when other people who had watched from a distance suggested that she was giving more than was healthy. The room had opinions. The therapist who said the codependency concern was worth examining. The sister who said she was disappearing into the caregiving. The friends who said they were worried about her. All of them people who loved her. All of them saying, in their various ways, the alabaster jar is being broken too completely. Something should be kept back. The love is too much. And the depression did not resolve in 3 years. It is still present, managed now, but present. And she is still there, still giving what the giving requires, still pouring what she has into the life of the person she loves. Tonight the story arrives, and Jesus turns to the room. Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing. The 3 years of the complete giving, the alabaster broken and poured over the life of someone whose depression made the receiving of the perfume difficult, is beautiful. Not despite the excess, because it was the giving of the everything available, because she did what she could, because the love in her was the broken jar kind. And the broken jar love is the love Jesus called beautiful and declared eternal. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Here is what the story of the woman who anointed Jesus does in a life that receives it and keeps returning to it. It repairs the belief that the value of the giving is determined by the room's assessment. This belief, that the love is worth what the room says it is worth, that the giving is validated by the return it produces, that the broken jar is justified by what the breaking accomplishes, is one of the most embedded and most damaging beliefs in the interior life of the person who has given completely and been told the giving was too much. The belief says, the room's accounting is the final accounting. The indignation of the disciples is the measure of the act. The why this waste is the question that the giving must answer. The defense of Jesus dismantles this belief, not by arguing against the room's arithmetic. The arithmetic was not wrong. By declaring a different accounting. By turning to the room and saying, "Your assessment is not the final assessment. The accounting you are performing is not the accounting that will be remembered. Wherever this gospel is preached, what she has done will also be told." The room's judgment was the judgment of the moment. The declaration of Jesus was the judgment of eternity, and they were not the same judgment. The person who returns to this story regularly, who brings their broken jars to the image of the defense, who brings the room's indignation to the image of Jesus, turning toward the woman before turning toward the disciples, finds that the room's accounting slowly loses its authority, not because the room has changed its assessment, because the defense is louder than the indignation, because the "she has done a beautiful thing" is more durable than the "why this waste," because the image of Jesus turning to the room and saying, "Leave her alone," lands in the interior where the room's assessment has been living and begins to displace it. The defense is being spoken for you right now. Why are you bothering this person? They have done a beautiful thing. The story also repairs the belief that the completely given love is the foolish love, the measured love, the love that keeps something in reserve, that calculates the return before giving, that manages the giving so the giver is not fully exposed, is the love that the practical wisdom recommends. The broken jar love is the love that the practical wisdom calls naive, excessive, the love that did not protect itself adequately against the possibility that the giving would not be matched, that the jar would be broken for someone who could not receive it with the fullness it deserved. The woman did not have the assurance of the return before she broke the jar. She broke it anyway. And Jesus called the breaking beautiful and declared it eternal. The broken jar love is not the foolish love, it is the love that Jesus named. And the person who returns to this story and brings their broken jars to the image of the defense slowly finds that the naming, the specific, direct, unqualified beautiful, is stronger than the "why this waste." That the love they gave, completely, irreversibly, holding nothing back, was received by the one whose reception matters most, and was called beautiful, and was declared eternal, and will be told wherever the gospel is told, in memory of her, in memory of you. The story is alive right now. There is a woman whose marriage ended after 22 years. She gave everything the marriage required, not the managed, self-protective giving of someone who has calculated the return, the complete giving of someone who believed that the complete giving was the right giving for the covenant she had made. She was present, available, invested, faithful. She managed the household and raised the children and supported the career and held the emotional center of a family across 22 years. And the marriage ended anyway, not from her failure, from the other person's choices accumulated across years that arrived finally in the ending. And the ending left the 22 years of the complete giving behind it. The alabaster broken, and the perfume poured, and the giving done, and the jar irreversible. The room has had things to say. the friends who said she gave too much, that the giving enabled what it should not have enabled, that the love should have had firmer limits and clearer boundaries. The family members who expressed their love for her in the form of concern about the pattern of giving. The interior voice that reviews the 22 years and asks, was it worth it? Was the jar broken for the right reason? Should something have been kept back? Tonight the story arrives, and Jesus turns to the room. Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing. The 22 years of the complete giving, the alabaster of the marriage years broken and poured into a covenant she honored fully, is beautiful. Not despite the ending. The giving was beautiful regardless of what the ending was. She did what she could, with what she had, in the only way the love in her knew how to give, and the doing what she could, Jesus declared eternal. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. There is a man who spent 15 years building a ministry that closed. He gave everything the ministry required, the time, the resources, the professional ambition that he redirected toward the work of the kingdom, the family margin that the ministry consumed without always acknowledging what the consuming cost. The ministry was real and good, and it reached people, and it mattered while it existed. And then it closed. For reasons of funding and timing and the particular difficulty of sustaining a specific kind of work across the long term. And the 15 years of the giving are behind the closing. The alabaster broken, the perfume poured, the year's wages, many years' wages, given to the work and not returnable. The room has performed its assessment. The people who said the ministry was never financially viable, that a wiser person would have recognized this earlier. The people who pointed out the organizations that survived and suggested the comparison. The interior voice that asks, was the giving proportional to what the giving accomplished? Should the jar have been broken quite so completely for something that ended? Tonight the story arrives. Why are you bothering this man? He has done a beautiful thing. The 15 years, the giving of the professional gifts and the family margin, and the years and the resources to the work of the kingdom is beautiful. Not despite the closing, because it was the complete giving of what was available to give, because it was the doing what he could. And Jesus declared the doing what you can eternal. Wherever this gospel is preached, what he has done will also be told. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. There is a teenager who has been giving more than her friends know. The friend group does not know the full accounting of what she gives to it, the specific, consistent, behind-the-scenes investment in the people she loves. The texts sent to the friend who is struggling, timed for when the struggling is worst. The showing up for the events that matter to the people she loves, even when the events are not what she would have chosen for herself. The holding of other people's grief and anxiety and difficulty in the space of the friendship without requiring them to hold hers in return. She has not calculated the giving. Here is what the story of the woman who anointed Jesus does in a life that receives it and keeps returning to it. It repairs the belief that the value of the giving is determined by the room's assessment. This belief, that the love is worth what the room says it is worth, that the giving is validated by the return it produces, that the broken jar is justified by what the breaking accomplishes, is one of the most embedded and most damaging beliefs in the interior life of the person who has given completely and been told the giving was too much. The belief says the room's accounting is the final accounting. The indignation of the disciples is the measure of the act. The why this waste is the question that the giving must answer. The defense of Jesus dismantles this belief, not by arguing against the room's arithmetic. The arithmetic was not wrong, by declaring a different accounting, by turning to the room and saying, "Your assessment is not the final assessment. The accounting you are performing is not the accounting that will be remembered. Wherever this gospel is preached, what she has done will also be told." The room's judgment was the judgment of the moment. The declaration of Jesus was the judgment of eternity, and they were not the same judgment. The person who returns to this story regularly, who brings their broken jars to the image of the defense, who brings the room's indignation to the image of Jesus, turning toward the woman before turning toward the disciples, finds that the room's accounting slowly loses its authority, not because the room has changed its assessment, because the defense is louder than the indignation, because the "she has done a beautiful thing" is more durable than the "why this waste," because the image of Jesus turning to the room and saying, "Leave her alone," lands in the interior where the room's assessment has been living and begins to displace it. The defense is being spoken. For you, right now. Why are you bothering this person? They have done a beautiful thing. The story also repairs the belief that the completely given love is the foolish love, the measured love, the love that keeps something in reserve, that calculates the return before giving, that manages the giving so the giver is not fully exposed, is the love that the practical wisdom recommends. The broken jar love is the love that the practical wisdom calls naive, excessive, the love that did not protect itself adequately against the possibility that the giving would not be matched, that the jar would be broken for someone who could not receive it with the fullness it deserved. The woman did not have the assurance of the return before she broke the jar. She broke it anyway, and Jesus called the breaking beautiful and declared it eternal. The broken jar love is not the foolish love, it is the love that Jesus named, and the person who returns to this story and brings their broken jars to the image of the defense slowly finds that the naming, the specific, direct, unqualified beautiful, is stronger than the "why this waste," that the love they gave, completely, irreversibly, holding nothing back, was received by the one whose reception matters most, and was called beautiful, and was declared eternal, and will be told wherever the gospel is told, in memory of her, in memory of you. And now, let everything grow very still. You are in your own room, your own bed, your own dark, and the jar is broken, and the fragrance is in the air, and Jesus is still speaking, in the room in Bethany and in this room right now, and what he is saying has not changed. Let the breaking be received. The jar you broke, the giving that was complete and irreversible, the love that held nothing back, the commitment that left no reserve. It cannot be unbroken. The giving is done. The fragrance is in the air of the life it was poured into, and the one who received it has not called it waste. He received the broken jar. He received the poured perfume. He received the year's wages and the complete and irreversible everything given. And he named it beautiful, not despite the completeness, because of it. The beauty is in the breaking. The giving that breaks the alabaster all the way is the giving Jesus called beautiful. Let the defense be received. Why are you bothering this woman? The defense that arrived before the explanation, before the theological context, before any argument against the room's critique. The turning to the room and saying, "Leave her alone." That defense is being spoken right now, into this room, into this dark, for you. Whatever versions of the room's assessment have taken up residence in the interior, the why this waste, the should have kept something back, the giving was disproportionate. Jesus is turning to them right now and saying, "Why are you bothering this person? She has done a beautiful thing." That is the final assessment. That is the accounting that will be remembered. The defense has not stopped. It is being spoken. Let the beautiful be received, not the beautiful that the room assigns to the giving that is proportional and efficient and returns adequate value. The beautiful that Jesus assigns to the giving that breaks the jar. The beautiful of the everything given. The beautiful of the love that does not calculate the return before pouring. The beautiful of the doing what she could with what she had. That beautiful. Your giving is that beautiful. The broken jars of your life are that beautiful. The complete givings that the room has assessed as excessive are that beautiful. Jesus named them. Wherever this gospel is preached, what she has done will also be told. In memory of her, in memory of you. Let the go in peace be received. Your faith has saved you. The faith that expressed itself in the coming to the room when the room did not want her, in the breaking of the jar, in the complete giving of what she had. That faith has saved you. And the go in peace is the sending into the life that comes after this moment, into the ordinary days and the difficult seasons and the moments when the room's assessment returns. Go into all of it, in peace, the peace that comes from the debt being cancelled, from the love being received as beautiful, from the faith being named sufficient, from the giving being declared eternal. She has done a beautiful thing to me. Truly I tell you, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Sleep now. The jar is broken. The fragrance is in the room. And the one who defended you against the room, who turned and said, "Why are you bothering this woman?" Who named the excess beautiful, who declared the giving eternal, who said, "Your faith has saved you, go in peace," is here, in this room, still speaking, still defending, still calling it beautiful, through the whole, long, beautiful night.